Hello and welcome back to the Find Your Feet podcast, a podcast show dedicated to helping you get closer to your true authentic self by helping you find your feet in life.
Today we are joined by Elina Berglund, who is the founder of Natural Cycles, and she comes to talk to us all about natural cycles, what it is, how it works, the ups and downs of being a female founder, and how she revolutionised hormone-free contraception for women. We believe so strongly in anything that empowers women to choose the right contraception for them. Therefore, we are really excited to introduce you to the new sponsor of our podcast, Natural Cycles. So I personally started taking the pill when I was around 14. I started taking it for my skin at first because I had really bad acne, and then I just carried on taking it for years and years. And I always did wonder about stopping, but I just wasn't sure what would be the safe alternative option for me. And then I discovered Natural Cycles. So Natural Cycles is the first and only CE marked hormone-free contraception app for women. It is so easy and accessible to track your cycle to avoid pregnancy, which is what I'm currently doing. But you can also use Natural Cycles to track in order to plan pregnancy or track your own pregnancy. So how does the app work? Basically, all you do is you take your temperature each morning and enter it into the app. The app then analyzes your basal body temperature and other fertility indicators and creates an algorithm just for you. So for example, if you are tracking to avoid pregnancy, you'll see green days where you're safe to have unprotected sex, and then red days where you should use protection. Natural Cycles is the first FDA cleared birth control app in the US and also CE marked in Europe, and is listed in the ARTG in Australia. Because it's a birth control app, it is 100% natural, non-hormonal, and has no side effects. No contraception is 100% effective, but when used to prevent pregnancy, Natural Cycles is 93% effective with typical use and 98% effective with perfect use. So perfect use will be not having unprotected sex on your red days. Natural Cycles also offer these LH strips, which you can order off their website, and basically what they do is they identify the LH surge, which happens 24 to 48 hours before you ovulate, and this helps create your unique algorithm. Literally all you do is pee in a little pot and then put the stick in for 15 seconds, and then it'll be a positive or a negative, and then you enter that into the app. I personally highly recommend this product. I've literally not stopped telling my friends about it. And even if you're not sexually active and you just want to get to know your body more, this is a perfect way to understand your cycle more and just feel more empowered. So if you're ready to start your journey with Natural Cycles, you can use our code Finding Your Feet to get 20% off your annual subscription and a free thermometer. Again, the code is Finding Your Feet, and we will leave the link to the website in the show notes. You can simply just go in there and enter the code. And for that annual subscription, it will work out at under £50 for the year, which is like £4 a month, which is literally just like trading in one monthly Starbucks for hormone-free contraception. But that is all for now. Let's jump into the chat with Elina. Okay, I'd just like to start by welcoming Elina onto the show. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Natural Cycles is a product that we both use and absolutely love, and I would actually say it's life-changing. So if you could just start, please, by introducing yourselves and just telling us what is Natural Cycles and how does it work?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm Elina Berglund. The last name is my husband's, and he's Austrian, so it's not so easy. And I'm the co-founder and CEO of Natural Cycles. And Natural Cycles is the first and only digital product for contraception that is cleared by the FDA in the US and CE marked in Europe. So we analyze women's body temperature to see when they ovulate, and from that we calculate when they're fertile or when they're definitely not fertile if you want to use it for contraception. But you can also use it the other way around to plan a pregnancy when you're ready for that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such like a revolutionary product. But what actually led you to wanting to create Natural Cycles? Because it's like the first of its kind.
It came from a personal unmet need originally. So I tried the pill as a teenager, but it really messed with my head. So I stopped using that. But then I had the hormonal implant for 10 years, which worked quite well for me. But when it was time to take it out and I knew we wanted to have kids in a few years, I thought, well, maybe it's good to give my body a chance to get back to normal and not use any hormonal contraception for a year or two before planning a pregnancy. So I then tried to find a solution, but I realized that there was no effective or easy to use option on the market. But I did realize that the body temperature changes throughout the menstrual cycle, and that's something that's actually well researched and known for long, but women used to do this analysis by hand, which wasn't very effective. But I'm originally a particle physicist, so I was working at the CERN laboratory at the time, and it's a lot about like data, statistics, algorithms. So I thought, okay, well, then I can create an algorithm for myself to use on my temperature to take into account previous cycles, make it effective, make it easy to use. So I started creating it for myself, but quite quickly I realized that actually this is a huge unmet need, and even my female colleagues in physics and the wives of the male colleagues, they started measuring their temperature and filled out like a Google spreadsheet so I could run my algorithm and tell them if that was a red or a green day, so whether they had to use protection or not that day. And then my husband suggested, who is also my co-founder, that, well, we should make this algorithm into an app such that all couples can profit from this innovation. And thought, yeah, I never necessarily wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I felt like this is a product that women really need access to. So yes, let's make an app.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. And as the founder, why do you think that hormone-free contraceptive is important? And also, what are the other benefits of tracking our cycle? Because I know we can learn a lot from actually knowing our cycle in the different phases.
Well, when it comes to contraception, I think there's really not one size fits all. And I also think that, you know, the need of what contraceptive method you want to use also maybe changes throughout your lifetime. You maybe don't feel the same when you're 18 or when you're 38. So I think there has to be an effective non-hormonal option on the market that's also non-invasive, because so many women do feel side effects from hormonal contraception, and often they turn to not have many options at all if they don't want to insert an IUD, which I think is a great contraceptive method, but also there has to be more options for women. And natural cycles is, we've now published 4 clinical studies on how effective it is. We've published 14 clinical studies in total, but it shows there's 93% effective with typical use, means however you use it, even if you actually don't always follow what the app tells you that you need to use protection when you're fertile, and is 98% effective when you do use protection the days that the app is red, so when you're fertile. And this is similar to the pill, but more effective than just using condoms alone, for example, but less effective than the hormonal implant or the IUD that you can put in your body and completely forget about. And you also asked about getting to know your body, and this is, I would say, probably the biggest benefit of natural cycles, at least according to our users, if we listen to what they say, because usually they start using natural cycles because they need a non-hormonal option. But once they start using it, they realize, oh, actually my body or my uterus is not a black box anymore. And they start realizing why they feel a certain way throughout the menstrual cycle. Like, they realize when they have PMS, they realize like during or before ovulation they might feel a bit differently, and this is something they really appreciate, and they feel very empowered by this knowledge of understanding what's going on inside their bodies.
Yeah, because I think like even it's knowing like where you're at in your cycle can be so good to like plan your life around as well. Like, you know, in terms of your work, like you're going to be more productive and focused and motivated and like confident at certain parts of your cycle than others. And if you actually know that, then you know you can make your life a lot easier. But how was the process of creating like the first and only app to be certified as natural contraception in both Europe and the US? Because I imagine that was like really difficult because you're fully breaking into a new market of bringing something completely innovative that's never been done before. And I'm sure it's probably met with like quite a lot of like sort of skepticism and how will this actually work. So how was the process of all of that?
It's been a very long journey. Now it's been around 10 years since we thought of creating natural cycles, and 9 years since we actually founded it. And I think it has helped that we are both scientists, because you know then we could focus on like the science and the product first to make sure that really works, and then try to navigate the other challenges. But it has been very difficult, especially on the regulatory part, since there hasn't been such a product before. So we had to like create a path for it. With the FDA, we had to do a de novo process, meaning that we're a new type of product. So we created a new category, and that is much more difficult than anything else. So, but I think having patience and resilience has helped, and also really ultimately knowing that this is a product that women need and want. So we just have to we have to be in it for the long haul, which we are. And I still feel like we're still only like halfway, or not even. There's so much more to be done. That's for sure.
I love how you mentioned there about it empowers women, because that's certainly what I feel when I'm using the app. Like I feel empowered to know my cycle and to know my body more. And I know this is like very recent changes, but we wanted to ask, like, in terms of America, have you noticed a difference in like the user activity? Have you noticed a difference in like the sales? Because obviously, I think with the movement of the new rights on abortion, I think that is taking back the reducing the power really of what women have. So we was wondering, have you noticed a difference within natural cycles with that?
Well, we do get a lot of questions from our users, which I kind of expected, because we have such a close relationship with our users, and we really, they do share such sensitive information in the app. And since we're a medical device and also not a free product, data privacy has always been like a big focus for us. And we would never sell data, and we don't need to, because we charge a subscription fee, so we don't have to monetize with our users' data like free apps do. But we realized with this new change of the US government overturning Roe v. Wade that we have to go even one step further. So we are now working on a complete anonymous mode for the user, so such that we ourselves cannot identify what user has what cycle information. So we like really separate like the personal information and the cycle information, because then if we don't even know who a user is, then we cannot share that data with anyone, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you noticed any sort of like drop in users, like any women coming off the app? Because, I understand some women might be more nervous to potentially use natural cycles if they're in a state where, it's now illegal for them to have the right to an abortion.
No, nothing like that. We've actually rather seen an increase, because
Okay.
access to birth control in the US isn't obvious for everyone. It depends on your health insurance, where you live, etc. So, and we are the most effective contraceptive method that's over the counter, that you don't need a prescription for. So we've rather seen an increase in usage rather than a drop, which we're happy
Yeah,
about.
that's interesting. Yeah, no, that's really good. You were just there as well, just briefly touched on about that you don't need to sell your users' data because Natural Cycles is a subscription-based app. And there's been rumors going around at the minute about, like apps that track periods and selling data, and that then apparently Facebook were targeting ads at women based on different points of their cycle and stuff like that. And obviously, I think a lot of rumors spread quite easily across the internet, just from lack of sort of context or proper information, and also just because I guess people are. It's just born out of like skepticism, really. But could you speak a little bit on that as well, and I don't know, shed a bit of light and bring some truth to the table for anyone that might have seen those rumors and thought that maybe it was true?
Well, unfortunately, I do know that some period trackers they do sell
Mm.
users' data, and they many period trackers share users' data because they have to, because they are free products. So they have to show ads, and then if they
Mm.
show ads, you have to build a whole wide personalization, like Facebook does. Facebook collects as much data as possible about you, such that they know what relevant ads to show. So it's nothing strange about that. It's just a business model. Or if they don't show ads and they don't charge, they then are they basically have to sell the data to monetize, right? And so I think it is a valid concern, especially if you live in one of those states where abortion is now criminalized. So, but I think there's a lot of one thing that's good to think about is that to look at the company's privacy policy. You can also now, when you go to the App Store, you can look if you search an app, you can now scroll down and see like what data they share. So the App Store is quite transparent about that. And also think about like what kind of business model they have, because I think if you pay for a product, you are their customer, but if you don't, someone else is their customer, and then they might have to sell the data or share the data.
Interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, it's good to hear that from you, because I think it's just like a lack of knowledge about understanding that if it's free for a reason. So then, you know, a lot of women listening now a lot of them might be using those free apps, and now they can make a different choice that's actually going to serve them better. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that.
Maybe one other useful information is that because the rumor was like delete your period tracker app, but deleting an app actually does not remove the data. With GDPR, you have the right to request your data to be deleted, but then you have to do it in a different way than deleting the app. So that might be useful knowledge as well.
I didn't know that. I literally just thought, you delete it and it'd be gone. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, definitely good to know. Just before we move on, just for anyone that may be listening now and is curious on natural cycles, are there, like, in terms of like getting it, so, say for example, if we use like a case study with somebody on the contraceptive pill, is there like a certain amount of time that you should be using it before you come off the pill? Because I know a lot of people can get maybe a bit freaked out at the start of like going to a hormone-free contraception. So like, how long are you meant to actually maybe do your temperature before you come off, say, the pill?
So when you take the contraceptive pill, it works in the way that it inhibits ovulation. So you don't have a menstrual cycle. The bleeding you have is actually induced by the pill and has a very different reason than the natural menstruation. So measuring your temperature while you're on the pill would not give the same type of signal at all, because you don't ovulate, and that's what and you don't have the natural hormones. You have hormones from the pill, so you cannot use natural cycles while on the pill. Well, we have kind of like a demo mode, so you can use it in the way that you can see what it will look like once you're off the pill. You can use it in parallel with the copper coil, because that's also non-hormonal. So we have users that use natural cycles and the copper IUD together, because that is probably the most effective method if you use them combined. So you kind of need to stop the pill before you really start measuring your temperature, but you can order it in advance, and then natural cycles will kind of guide you through that process, because there's a lot that goes on in the body when you do stop the pill, and you might have also withdrawal symptoms, etc. And we try to kind of like handhold the user through that process. And also many users do worry like, well, can I trust the red and the green days, especially if I come off the pill in the beginning? But you answer questions when you start natural cycle. So we will ask you if you are on the pill or if you recently quit the pill, and we will take that into account into the algorithm, because it can take longer for the body to start working again, start ovulating again. So we do take that into account, and then you might get more red days in the beginning when you need to use protection, but then we see when you finally start ovulating again.
Yeah, I did notice that, and that made me feel a lot more secure when I stopped the pill and started using it. But there was like a lot more red days, but I knew that that's just so it can like go to the algorithm. So that definitely makes you feel better knowing you're safer until the app like really understands your cycle.
I'm sure that you will have come up against a lot of really big challenges whilst growing natural cycles, and especially because it's like I know you've co-founded it with your husband as well, but it's a brand new, like one of its kind product, and it's designed purely to fix a problem that only women deal with. So in terms of like seeking investment for the business and just getting it passed through all the different regulations, stuff like that, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've come up against whilst growing Natural Cycles?
Well, I think the biggest challenge has been, and I've realized that throughout this journey, is that there's so much lack of education, but also misinformation when it comes to women's health. So, like, I still hear all the time women saying, like, well, you're not fertile every day of your cycle. You're only fertile 6 days of your cycle. And even in these 6 days, if you want to get pregnant, it's really only 3 days that you have a significant chance of getting pregnant. I think this misinformation comes from probably not learning enough about women's health in school, which would have been, I think, would be useful to step up that knowledge, and also some fear mongering, because I think young women are not necessarily trusted with this information about their own bodies, because like society is not comfortable with letting women like handle the truth and the knowledge about themselves. And I think that's also why many young women are put on the pill as defaults, because that feels more safe. But I think it can be very individual, and some young women might also then suffer from side effects and mental health problems. So I'm not sure that's always the best solution. And I do think that knowledge is really key, and knowledge is empowering also for younger women. So I hope that there will be more. I mean, we try to kind of bridge that knowledge gap. Like, for instance, on our Instagram account, where we have 350,000 followers, and on our blog called Cycle Matters, we talk about women's health in general, not just natural cycles. We talk about all contraceptive methods, and we talk about the menstrual cycle, and everything related to women's health. And we hear very often, like, what, the pill is not 100% effective? Like, women don't know that's the different effectiveness rates of different contraceptive methods, and they think like there's no way they can get pregnant. But in reality, if you have intercourse, there's always a risk of pregnancy, no matter the contraceptive method. And that's also useful to know. So yeah, the knowledge gap has been, I think, the most challenging, but that's something we're trying to change in the world.
Yeah, no, totally. So obviously you've created Natural Cycles, this incredible business. And how many years did you say since you founded it?
So we founded it 9 years ago,
9
but
years,
we
wow.
worked on it for
So
10 years.
yeah, probably the challenges you come up against are probably different now to the beginning, but what would be your advice for people wanting to break into a new market or create like an innovative product?
Yeah, I think having some resilience and following your passion, because I think if you really believe in what you do, and this is something that needs to be out there, yes, there will always be hurdles. It will never be like a straight path to success. But if you have some patience, and if you believe in yourself and your product, I think you're basically halfway there. So you just have to keep going and keep pushing.
Yeah, resilience is so important.
Mm.
Where do you see Natural Cycles going in the future in terms of further development and more innovation for women's hormone-free contraception? Like, have you got plans to develop new products that are going to sort of, because you were the first company to bring about this hormone-free option. So, where are you looking into the future? Is there more innovation to come?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of exciting things at Natural Cycles, and focusing a lot on innovation right now. So we hopefully in the next coming year have quite a bit of exciting things to launch. One thing we're working on is to have a better experience of measuring your temperature, so you don't have to remember to measure in the morning. So that's the feedback we hear, that I forget to measure, and that's fine. Like, the algorithm takes that into account. But if you forget to measure a lot, you end up with quite a bit of red days. So we're working on an automated way to measure the temperature during the night. And that's something we got a new FDA clearance and also European approval for last summer. So we're hoping to launch that soon. So that's very exciting. And then plenty of other innovation coming within women's health after that as well.
Yeah. Are you allowed to talk more about the device that's going to measure you in the night, or is it still secret for now?
So we're actually working on several options, because also here we feel like different women might want different things. We won't launch them all at the same time, but more information will come rather shortly, hopefully.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I mean, yeah, for anyone listening that's like thinking about it, like I just think personally it's such an incredible product to get to know yourself more, and just to like, just personally for me, just to then, I feel like that natural way is really empowering, because then you know what you're putting in your body. It's just less force. You do your temperature every day, and I just think it's a really incredible product. Like literally the amount of friends that I'm like always talking about natural cycles too.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
Well, it's been really nice to chat with you today. Thank you for coming on and talking to us all about your business and everything that's coming up. And it sounds really exciting for the women, for the future of how natural cycles can support them to live like a healthier, natural hormone-free life and still feel empowered and safe. So thanks for everything that you do, and thank you so much for coming and talking to us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys, with that conversation with Elina. Hope you are feeling educated and feeling empowered to maybe start your own hormone-free contraception journey, or even if you just want to get to know your cycle better, then Natural Cycles is just such a good option.
Yeah, definitely go ahead, send this to your friends if you loved it, or if you have friends that you know are curious about hormone-free contraception, go and send them over. And if you love this episode, then please rate and review on Spotify and on Apple.
And don't forget to use our code Finding Your Feet to get 20% off your annual subscription with Natural Cycles and a free thermometer.
Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we will see you next time.
Bye.